Friday so far. We are back for another recap of what happened in day number 2 in March Madness. Now, I know it wasn't as crazy of a day as we had as yesterday if we had a couple of upsets. We had a 12 seed, then a couple of double-digit seeds. But no double-digit seed has pulled off the upset today. But, man, what a game that we had to really start off this slate of Kentucky and Santa Clara. We'll definitely get to that a little bit later here in the show. We'll also get through all of our not week 2 games, day 2 games, sorry. Then we're going to look at our updated bracket to see what our second round matchups are looking like. And then we will just get a little bit of takeaways in what has really turned out to pretty much be a chalky day. Pretty much really no upsets really happen unless you want to call a number 9 seed over 8 seed upset. But we pretty much had every lower seed win today. We'll see if that changes. We do have a couple of games. We only have one game going on right now. We have a couple of games between the 2 and the 15, as well as a 13 versus 4 with Kansas and Cal Baptist. And then we do have another 10 over 7 matchup with Missouri in Miami taking place in St. Louis. So let's go ahead and dive into our recaps. First up, the game that we're going to be talking about is the number 10 seed UCF and the number 7 seed UCLA. This game just went final. It took forever to finish the last couple of minutes of this game. And UCLA survives this one 75-71. Though, I mean, the Bruins pretty much had full control on this one. They didn't really trail too much in this game against the Knights of UCF. But UCLA, definitely one of the more dangerous 7 seeds coming into this tournament, especially if they can get healthy. I know that they're more than likely going to have a date with UConn unless, Furman pulls off the unthinkable here. But UCLA, I mean, they really, like I mentioned, they really had full control of this one from start to finish. And Daly Jr. For them was their leading scorer, 20 points for them. But UCLA wins this one 75-71 over UCF. So like I mentioned, in the East region, other like games that we do have in that one, we do have, St. John's pulling out a win there. But all the lower seeds so far are winning in the East region other than TCU. TCU pulled off the 9-8 upset in the first game of the tournament. But UCLA wins this one 75-71. And UCF, they're able to come back in the second half, get a little bit closer. But UCLA was able to get a couple of key buckets down the stretch there to keep the lead. And Mick Cronin's squad wins the game out east this time. I know that he's not a fan of playing out east, especially in the mid, and the mid. What am I trying to say here? The northeast, excuse me. But UCLA gets this one. They will await the winner of tonight's game, which will be tipping off here in just a couple of minutes between Furman, the 15 seed, and the number 2 seed, the UConn Huskies. But good win for UCLA. This was a great matchup that we had. I think that this was pretty 2 evenly matched teams. I know that UCLA pretty much dominated this one, but UCF, like I mentioned, they're a scrappy team coming out of the Big 12. So good win for Mick Cronin's squad. Let's go on now to the next one. We will not spend too much time on these next couple of ones. We had a lot of blowouts today. I mean, like I mentioned, all really chaos happening in game number 1. But really outside of that, we did have a couple of double-digit seeds upsets happening yesterday. But it feels like this tournament is really playing out how last year went. We're all like the number 1 and number 2 seeds are more likely going to survive all the way into like the Sweet 16 and maybe beyond further than that. Let's get to our next game that we're going to be recapping here today. That is the number 16 seed Long Island Sharks facing off against the number 1 overall seed in the West region. That's going to be Arizona. In Arizona, they show that they are one of the best teams in the country, and they have about as good of a chance to cut down the nets in Indianapolis. But Arizona, dominant performance by them, 92-58 over Long Island. Long Island, honestly, from the get-go, just didn't stand a chance against Arizona. So Arizona will be facing off now against the number 9 seed, Utah State. That's definitely going to be a good game between those 2 West Coast schools. But like I mentioned, not going to spend too much time as Arizona pulled away early, and they did not look back for that as they put up 53 points in the first half. They kind of let off the gas in the second half, but still a dominant performance from the number 1 overall seed in the West region. Now let's go on now to our next 2 versus 15 matchup. I mean, the 2-15 matchups what we're going to be talking about next. 2 complete blowouts as well. Iowa State gets things done against Tennessee State, 108-74. Complete dominant performance by the Cyclones. I think that the Cyclones definitely are going to be one of those number 2 seeds to really watch out for. I know that UConn is still to be playing. Purdue obviously took care of business against their number 15 seed. And then, I believe Houston took down Idaho late last night. So all the 2 seeds so far are just really taking care of business. So we'll see what UConn does tonight to see if they can continue that performance as well. But we did have a key injury with Jefferson going down with an ankle injury. We'll see if he does play. And I believe they're going to be playing Sunday in the second round against Kentucky. So we'll see if Jefferson is available for that game. If not, though, I still think that the advantage is for Iowa State, even though that Kentucky has some really good guard play, especially with the game that Otega Owe had today. But Iowa State, dominant performance by Tennessee State. I mean, from the jump as well. I mean, Arizona, Iowa State, and Purdue, you didn't really have to sweat them out of a potential upset against these like 15 or 16 seeds. Iowa State put up 50-plus points in both quarters. So we always talk about Iowa State being a dominant defensive team, but the offense showed out there as you had your leading scorer put up 25 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists, as the Cyclones will be moved on to the round of 32 and facing off against Kentucky. Let's get to another blowout. We're going to not really spend too much time on all these blowouts. We're just going to breeze through here. I mean, pretty much all these teams took care of business as we really thought. But Purdue, the number 2 seed in the West region, really beat the brakes off of Queens. Queens just didn't really stand a chance in this one as Purdue wins this one 104-71, as you can see on your right portion of the screen. Braden Smith set the Division I career assist record in the Purdue route over Queens. So Queens had time in the first half. They got it in below double digits. But really outside of that, Purdue was just really too much. And this Purdue team, after really struggling late in the regular season, they kind of went on a losing streak there at the end of the regular season. But whatever, this team really turned it on in the Big Ten tournament in Chicago. And I know it's Queens, but game number 1, beating a team like this, that's going to set them up for a deep tournament run, in my opinion. We'll see what they do in the second round. We'll get into their matchup a little bit later on. But yeah, Braden Smith, if he plays like that every single night, then Purdue could go to a Final Four or even more than that. This team has all the intangibles of making it that deep in the tournament. Now, more than likely, they're going to have to face off against the Arizona team down the stretch there. If they do end up making it to the Elite Eight there, and if Arizona takes care of business at the top portion of the West region. But Purdue looking like the number 1 overall team, as we all thought in the preseason. I know that people are going to say, well, Queens is just not a very good basketball team. But you know how historical facts go in some seasons. Purdue, have had some seasons in the past in this basketball tournament where they struggled with a double-digit seed early on, but no struggles for the Boilermakers in game number 1 for them, as they will now move on now to the next round. Let's go on now to the next one. Not a blowout here. We finally get a close game to talk about in this slate of games that we had today. Let's get into the 14 versus the 3 matchup here. Virginia wins this one 82-73, and Wright State gave about as good of a fight as they could. They were up 43-38 going up to the half. And then Wright State's offense just went ice cold to start that game. And that's really where you saw Virginia kind of take over this second half. And as you see in the box score, Virginia won the second half by a score of 44-30. And Virginia's defense did not play the Virginia basketball that we saw in the ACC tournament and even during ACC play in the regular season. But Virginia definitely turned it around. And their key player there in White scored 26 points for them. And you got to give credit to Wright State, man. I mean, they really battled even after Virginia came out of the second half really firing on all cylinders. Wright State was able to get the lead back, but Virginia finished the game on a 15-3 run. So Virginia avoids the first round scare. They will move on and face off, I believe, now against Tennessee. Tennessee took care of business against Miami of Ohio. So I'll set up a 6 versus 3 matchup. So we'll get Virginia and Tennessee. Pretty two contrasting styles that we are going to see in that matchup. These are two teams that are very elite on the defensive side of the ball. I know that Virginia, like I mentioned, their first half defense wasn't great, but they were able to turn around a great second half. And they were able to come away with this 9-point victory over a very talented Wright State team. Like I mentioned, you just got to give credit to Wright State of the fight that they showed, because not many like 14, 15 seeds really show much fight today, and you got to give credit to Wright State for that. So Virginia moves on. They will get a date with the Tennessee Volunteers. Let's go ahead and continue on with recapping all the games that we saw here in day number 2 of this NCAA tournament. And the next one that we're going to be talking about is the number 13 seed Hofstra facing off against number 4 seed Alabama. Alabama wins this one 90-70. And the score was probably, further than what this game actually was. I think Hofstra really played well. They just ran out of gas in this late second half of this one. And then Philon Jr., I mean, he's the best player that they got, especially with Aiden Holloway not on the team at the moment. But Philon, 29 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists. And Hofstra was able to really get some key shots, especially early in this game, especially beyond the arc, to really keep this one close going into the half. It was Alabama 37-35 going into the half. But once the second half got here, I mean, Hofstra was able to hang around in the first couple of minutes of the second half. But Alabama went on that crazy run down the stretch there, hit a couple of key shots, especially by Philon Jr. But Alabama, once again, going to the second round of the tournament. And under Nate Oates, Alabama has been really consistent program, and they're going to have a hell of a matchup against Texas Tech in the second round, setting up a really good 4 versus 5 matchup. We'll see if we get any more 5-4 matchups that we're also going to be looking forward to. I know that we have a potential matchup looming if Kansas can take care of business, and they'll get a date with St. John's. But Alabama, too much for this Hofstra team down the stretch there, as the Crimson Tide wins this one by 20 to move on and face off against the number 5 seed Texas Tech Red Raiders. And speaking of the Red Raiders, let's get to their matchup against the number 12 seed Akron Zips. I do know that some people did pick this upset, especially in my bracket challenge group that we're doing here with some of my subscribers. But Texas Tech wins this one 91-71. And Akron really played Texas Tech really close in the first half, But in the second half, it was all Red Raiders, as Texas Tech, as you see there, was able to cap off this game on an 8-0 run. And even without JT Toppin, this team is still very talented. And I think they could even make it to the Sweet 16. It's definitely going to be a tough challenge going up against this Alabama team. But if you can limit the big 3-point capabilities, especially if you can, Philon, he's going to get his. But if you can limit the other production that Alabama has, and their big man down low, and then the perimeter shooters that Alabama has as well, I think that it's going to be a phenomenal game between the Red Raiders and the Alabama Crimson Tide. But Texas Tech, they were challenged by this Akron team. Akron ended up winning the MAC. The story of the MAC was Miami of Ohio, but it was actually the Zips winning their conference championship and getting the automatic bid for the conference. But Akron, like a lot of these 13 and 12 seeds, unless your name is High Point, just ran out of gas in the second half as Texas Tech rolls past Akron, and we will get Alabama and Texas Tech in the second round. Let's go on now to a game that was not so close whatsoever. A lot of these games were a lot of blowouts, so this is more than likely going to be a short recap tonight. A lot of blowouts happening tonight. Compared to day one, I know that we had that crazy game between Kentucky and Santa Clara. It's kind of just been all chalk really settling in today. But number 5 seed St. John's defeats number 12 seed Northern Iowa 79-53. And St. John's got out to a fast start. They went off 10-0 in Northern Iowa. You saw them take a quick timeout. But this St. John's team playing really well down the stretch in Big East play, and then they win their Big East conference tournament. So they not only won the Big East regular season title, but they also won their conference tournament title as well. So this team is absolutely rolling. Like I mentioned, we'll see if they do get a matchup with Kansas, which set up a phenomenal coaching battle between Rick Pitino and Bill Self. So we'll see if we get it. But Northern Iowa just don't have the offensive firepower to really keep up in this one. I know they got it close in the second half, but it just felt like St. John's. They were up big in this one, so they were just chilling. But St. John's, really nothing to say about this. I think we kind of expected St. John's to really cruise past Northern Iowa. This Northern Iowa team wasn't close like the years back when they hit that crazy shot against Texas and had that crazy game in round number 2 against Texas A&M where they were up big and then they blew it late to lose that game. But St. John's takes care of business, so really nothing to be said about the Johnnies. I think that this could be a team that honestly not only could give Kansas problems, but could definitely give Duke problems, especially if Duke continues to deal with some injuries and don't get some players back in the next round or 2. The next game that we have is the number 11 seed Miami of Ohio facing off against the number 6 seed Tennessee. And Tennessee cruises to a 78-56 win here over the Cinderella story of the Red Hawks. I mean, the Red Hawks, like I mentioned, the story of this college basketball season. You have a pretty much an undefeated regular season, and then you lose your first game in the MAC tournament, lose to the 8th seed in UMass, and then you go slide into the first 4. You defeat SMU, and then you get a date with number 6 Tennessee. And I think that this was just a very tough matchup for this Miami Red Hawks offense. This is an offense that, like we know, relies heavily on the threes. And what Tennessee really does well is defend beyond the perimeter. And that's exactly what we saw for 40 minutes in this game. It was pretty much Tennessee. They start off hot, and they did not look back, ladies and gentlemen, as Tennessee routes Miami of Ohio 78-56. Gillespie had a crazy game for Tennessee, went off 29 points. Nate Ament also had a good game as well. And then Suter, Miami of Ohio's key player, had 27 points. He was able to get his, but not too many other stars for the Red Hawks and didn't really do too much in this game. As you saw, Tennessee out the gates, I mean, at the half, they were up 19, going up 51-32 at the half. At that point, you pretty much knew that it was over. And then you saw a defensive battle. You had Miami of Ohio putting up 24 points. Tennessee on the other side put up 27. But Tennessee, I mean, this is definitely going to be a team that could definitely pull off the upset, especially with the way that Virginia kind of struggled in game number 1. This is going to be a hell of a battle between Tennessee and Virginia. But I definitely think that Tennessee could pull off this upset if they definitely play like they did today in round number 1 against Miami of Ohio as they take care of business there in the Midwest region. So now let's go on now to the final game of the day, and then we'll jump back to the top to see what games are in action. And then we will go to the live bracket to see what second-round matchups are going to be catching our eye, give you a little bit of preview on that, and maybe some early picks as well to close this thing out. Let's go ahead and get to the game of the round number 1 here. After having a crazy game yesterday between both TCU and Ohio State, we obviously had High Point pull off the upset. And then we had VCU storming back down 19 to defeat the 6th seed North Carolina. What a game that this was to lead off the day. I mean, back-to-back game 1s. I mean, we had TCU and Ohio State coming down to the buzzer, same as the number 7 seed Kentucky and number 10 seed Santa Clara. As this game goes to overtime, and the Cats win this one 89-84 in an absolute ball game that this was, that defines why this tournament is so great, and that's why I love to watch it every single year. And Santa Clara got up early on Kentucky. This was a back-and-forth game. In the first half to the second half, Santa Clara did take a 2-point advantage. Going into the halftime break, they were up 31-29. And then like you see in the box score, Kentucky won the second half by a score of 44-42. Like I mentioned, this was a back-and-forth game. I mean, every time Kentucky tried to build a lead and try to pull away from Santa Clara would come back and hit a key three-pointer to get this thing back down to this. But we obviously have to talk about the end of this game. Otega Owe hits a key layup to tie this game. And then Santa Clara comes all the way back with like 2.9 seconds left in this game. They hit a three-pointer. You thought that was all the way over. And the Santa Clara head coach tried to call a timeout, but I guess the referee just didn't see him. And Otega Owe hits an insane shot at the buzzer. Got it right on time. I mean, Otega Owe, you see on the box score right there, 35 points for him. He went 11 for 24 from the field. He was absolutely sensational. If he plays like that, Kentucky very well could pull off the upset against Iowa State, especially if one of their key players are out with an ankle injury. But going into the overtime, like Kentucky out the gates, they really kept that momentum from Owe's shot. And we saw Owe even in overtime hit some key shots as well. But this was a hell of a game to get us started for day number 2. It's like I mentioned, Kentucky survives this one 89-84. I think that pretty much looking at all the brackets, you had pretty much it was a split. I mean, Santa Clara coming from the West Coast Conference. I mean, they're a very underrated team. I think that a lot of people obviously want to talk about Gonzaga and St. Mary's, but Santa Clara, I mean, they gave hell to Gonzaga even in that championship game. But Kentucky, obviously, this is more talented teams in all college basketball, especially with the amount of money that they spent on their roster in the transfer portal, as well as on the recruiting trail as well. So I think that Kentucky definitely has the talent to hang around with Iowa State, but we will have to see in that matchup on Sunday. But yeah, what a game that this was. And this just defines, this is March, the game. That's exactly what this game defines there, as Kentucky wins a thriller 89-84 against the Broncos. So let's go ahead and go back to the top portion here of our scores, as we do have a couple of games going on here. It's a couple, higher seeds going up against the lower seeds, like the 1s versus the 16s and the 2 versus the 15s. You do have 110/7, but Florida so far is dominating so far. I mean, 50-21. Who knows? The Gators may put up 60 by the time that this first half is over. So it looks like Florida is well on their way to a first-round victory. Looks like the defending champs are playing like the defending champs so far. Boogie Flan right now, the top performer for them, 13 points for the Gators. I mean, this is pretty much a home game. It's in Tampa, Florida. A lot of blue and orange that I saw just watching the end of that UCLA and UCF battle. But Florida right now dominating. Kansas off to a strong start against the number 13 seed California Baptist. They're up 13-5. And then Miami and Missouri. I think this is definitely going to be the game of the night. We'll see. I don't think that both of these games more than likely are going to be close. We'll see about Kansas and California Baptist. But right now, Miami is winning this one in St. Louis, 15-12 over the number 10 seed Missouri Tigers. And do we have one more game wrapping up the night? This is going to be a late one, especially with how long that the UCLA-UCF game went. We have 15 seed Furman and number 2 seed UConn. Looking at the spread right now, UConn is a favorite, 20.5 right now. But we'll see if we have a major upset. I'm not really counting on it. I think that all chalk is going to hold. Maybe we do get an upset between 10 and a 7, but really outside of that, I think all these, 1s and 4s and even 2 seeds will take care of business. So let's go ahead and go through the updated bracket. We'll give you some of our early picks for the second round games as well. So let's save like the games that we already talked about in yesterday's live recap. Let's go ahead and just go through the teams that advance. So St. John's, like we talked about, will advance to the second round. They'll await the winner of Kansas and Cal Baptist. More likely be the Jayhawks, but we'll see how that game ends. Let's continue on here in this region. UCLA punched their ticket to the second round. They'll await the winner of UConn and Furman. More likely will be UConn. And then we have Iowa advancing on 67-61 win. That was a huge win for the Hawkeyes. So we'll see if they can keep it even close to the defending champs, because Florida right now is looking pretty good against the 16 seed. Let's see other matchups. All these matchups were yesterday, already filled in. Let's go back to the West region. We do have this matchup already set up. Number 1 seed Arizona and number 9 seed Utah State. We already have these matchups set. And then number 2 seed Purdue advances. Let's see what other games. We have Texas Tech and Alabama set in the 5 versus the 4 in the Midwest, as well as the number 6 seed Tennessee and Virginia, and the number 7 seed Kentucky facing off against the 2 seed Iowa State. So let's go ahead and give you the Saturday games. Let me see if I can, remember the Saturday games. Let's go ahead and just do some quick picks here, just based on what I have in my bracket as well. Number 1 seed Duke and number 9 seed TCU. I'm going to go with Duke in this matchup, though I think that TCU is going to give them a hell of a game. I think that TCU is going to play them for 40 minutes strong. Wouldn't surprise me if it comes down to a last possession, but I will go with Duke there. Louisville versus Michigan State. We'll see if Michael Brown is active for this game or not, but I'm still going to go with Michigan State and Tom Izzo's squad to win that one. Vanderbilt, Nebraska. This is going to be a hell of a game, especially with a lot of Nebraska fans being there. Could be advantage for Nebraska, but since I have Vanderbilt in my personal bracket, I'll go with the Vandy boys winning that one. And then we have number 11 seed VCU and number 3 seed Illinois. I'll go with Illinois in this one. look at like they were very dominant in their first game. I think that VCU is going to give them everything that they got. But I'm going to go with Illinois in that matchup. And then A&M and Houston, I'll go Houston in that game. And then Michigan and St. Louis, I'll go Michigan. St. Louis, though, I mean, their offense absolutely dominated Georgia last night, putting up 102 on the Dogs out of the SEC. And then Texas, Gonzaga. I honestly think that Texas could definitely pull this one off. So let's go ahead and pull off the upset here. Let's have a double-digit seed go into the Sweet 16. This Texas team has definitely figured out their identity on the offensive side of the ball, and on defense, they're really playing well. They really limit some big plays from BYU, and Gonzaga kind of struggled in game number one. But I'm going to go Texas and give me the upset there. I think that we're going to get at least one of these double-digit seeds going to the Sweet 16. So give me Texas to win that one. And then finally, High Point in Arkansas. This is definitely going to be an underrated game and a game that I'm really looking forward to watch tomorrow. I don't know what time this is. I think that the times are still yet to be decided for both Saturday and Sunday. But yeah, I'm going to go with Arkansas winning this one. I just think that Darius Acuff is going to be way too much for High Point. We'll see if High Point can stay hot from beyond the arc. Could be a high-scoring battle that comes down to the wire, but I'll just go with Arkansas. This Arkansas team has really been playing well down the stretch. But that's going to be it for all of us here on this Friday night recap. And we will watch the games over the weekend. I don't know if I'm going to be doing any more of the recaps. I guess it just depends on how good the games are for the next couple of days, because today we got some really good games early on, but kind of like this afternoon and night slate just hasn't really performed as we all thought. But I appreciate everybody tuning into tonight's recap, and we will continue on with some more college basketball content here over the next probably next week as we get our Sweet 16 matchups, and then we look forward to the next round or two. So I appreciate everybody for tuning into tonight's recap. Enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll catch you all next time. So long for now.